Everybody's path into retirement is different, but only 31% of people today in Australia retire by choice.
Hello and welcome to Super Insider, a podcast on all things investing, the economy, superannuation and living your best possible retirement. My name is Anne Fuchs. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a lucky duck. I get to host this amazing podcast, and today we are talking to literally the queen of the epic retirement, Bec Wilson. And before we start talking about what an epic retirement is, listeners and viewers, it is that time for me to remind you, this is general advice, general information only. It is really important that you need to think about whether this is right for you. Firstly, I'm going to start, Bec, and just say that your career is just going gangbusters. People are just can't get enough of your information about what it means to live an epic retirement. Tell me why you think that is.
I think I landed in a lucky time. You know, I want to be aware of the fact that plenty of retirement came before now, right? But there's a time right now where we've saved for a long period of time using superannuation, and perhaps we didn't start spending until around about now, and we didn't learn how to spend. So I've come along at the right time, hopefully with easy to understand information, and that makes me lucky as well, that I've managed to find a tone that people enjoy. And then I've been very lucky with how people have spread the word. Look, I hope we can educate as many people as possible in the run-ups to their retirement. So my view is we get a new group of people every year coming into this category. And so, you know, these might be your members, these might be newspaper readers, they might be people from all different walks of life. And if we can help them through the 18 months of transition, then we're doing our job.
And as part of this education revolution around what spending money in retirement is all about, you've decided there needs to be a month.
No, yeah, I have.
you have made that call.
Yeah.
There needs to be an epic retirement month, which is starting now.
Yeah, it is. And it's exciting. We made the call about a year ago. We watched the internet and it really was, my first book is only 2.5 years old, and we've had to update it. You know, things change so fast in retirement, and you learn so much about how the market needs to commentate this stuff and how we need to educate on it. But what we've been learning by watching people is perhaps something that other people haven't pointed out, and that's that November and December are possibly the biggest months of retirement in the country and even the Western world, right?
See, you educated me on that, and I've worked in superannuation for 27 years. I always thought it was end of financial year. So that's extraordinary. And there's about, I think, 3.5 million people over the next 5 years heading into
phenomenal
retirement who have a nest egg of money that probably for the first time in their family's history.
It's amazing. And the transition process of retirement, whilst we look at it as a finish line and one moment in the sand where we stop, it's actually nothing like that anymore. But what we are seeing is this velocity of people who are calling themselves retired in this window, and they might be walking out of the big full-time job for the last time in November or December. They might be stopping this year and then starting part-time next year. They might be starting to reframe what work means to them.
I mean, you and I think, are 75 kids, so a significant year birthday.
Yeah.
And I've set myself the 60 as that's the date. And if I work after that, or it's not a hostage situation, or I'm going part-time, I'm doing it because, and I wonder, is that a trend that you are seeing in your, within your followers?
Look, it's huge. And I wrote Epic Retirement, and then I listened to the people that were buying it, and I listened to the people who didn't want to buy it. And there was a whole group of people who went, I'm not retiring. I don't need that book right now. And they were 55. And I was like, but you do need the stuff in it so that you learn about compounding and you learn about getting yourself out of being in a hostage situation, because the earlier you plan. And so I had to write the other book called Prime Time for people who don't relate to the R word yet but need to do the work.
But is it because they don't relate to the R word because they either, one, are probably scared and just can't even get their head around it, or it's just so far in the distance, even still they can't.
Or they love their work. And they just don't see. So all of those, and everybody's path into retirement is different, but only 31% of people today in Australia retire by choice. So in fact, I've set myself a goal by the time I retire that we're going to move that number to 75%. I'm going to need your help.
Yeah.
Right? I think we can teach more people that they have choices, that they can put themselves into a better prepared position financially. And I think the system will come alongside us, and super will help as well, because people will have more money, so they'll have more choices in our lifetime. And we will, in 10 years' time, I think we can better equip people.
I was in a conversation this week about sort of money and happiness and epic retirement. What is your view around an epic retirement, in that, is it the be all and end all to maybe wind back hours earlier to have a retirement and have less money but kind of be happy again? Like what?
I think there's all different options you have at that point if you have financial certainty. And so the first step in your prime time process is to get yourself through what I call a financial setup phase. If you think you're feeling fatigued or tired, but you don't necessarily know if the R word is the only choice, the R word is the only word we've had for an exit from the workplace in our 50s before now, right? And for many people in physical careers, I reckon in 10 or 15 years' time, we'll have a completely different set of narrations about where we go and how we do it. And I suspect we'll take a sabbatical. We'll use it to reskill. Maybe the government will help us fund our reskilling if we're in operational work that our bodies can't do anymore. And we'll start to say, well, what's my next phase career? Could I teach plumbing instead of doing plumbing? Could I work at TAFE and skill other people? Could I do things that might use my core skills or passions a different way? Or may I have a second phase career?
So that's describing a deep sense of purpose, which is core to an epic retirement. And we were talking about your dad, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Who is living his epic retirement. Tell us about Tony.
Look, the way I frame an epic retirement is with 6 fundamental pillars. And so when I talk about somebody who's living one, I like to point out the different ways they're using those pillars. So the first pillar of an epic retirement is time, understanding how long you might live and not living small, not saying, hey, I'm getting old early, or slowing down on your curiosity, or, because I think we all have this perspective that we might die in our 70s. But the chances of us all living, the chances of us all getting beyond 90 now are actually much more significant than us dying in our 70s. So if we were to stop and say, right, living like we're curious all the way through our retirement, not letting ageism in our own mind of our own definition of self-directed ageism get us. My dad's been a poster child in many of these areas, right? He's not acting like he's getting old. He's acting like a young man. And it's lovely because he's 79 this year. And it's lovely to have somebody who's a role model in my own family who acts like a young retiree, right? He's coming skiing with me for my 50th birthday and we're going on the mountain together.
Right? Cool. Yeah.
And that's pretty fun to think that's a massive milestone moment for me to have my dad there for. But then you go on to money and financial confidence. Now, he was the one that taught me about money in my early years. He was a really good role model. Sure, he did ups and downs in money. I can remember him with 17% interest rates, trying desperately to make ends meet. But he was always teaching me about compounding and the power of compounding and the power of investing for the long term and taking a bit of risk, but knowing where the line on risk was and kind of egging me on younger than maybe I would have taken risk. And that has set him up well to live a calmer life with a sense of enough. And I think that's what we want for everybody. You don't have to be rich to have an epic retirement. You just have to have enough that you don't outspend what you have.
And everyone's version of enough is different.
It is. And there is, my mum lives on a full pension, right? And she sometimes doesn't feel like she has enough, but in all reality, she makes it enough. She does the hard yards on her budget to make it enough. And she goes caravanning, does simple trips and travels. And those are the things we have to do to get to an epic retirement. You don't have to be rich to have one. You just have to be able to use your money well. Then you get to health. You can't have an epic retirement without your health. You just can't. And I fear for people who have heaps and heaps of money and haven't looked after their body because they don't get to use that money well to enjoy life in the good years, in the really good years, the ones that we've all looked forward to when you finally get a break or you get choices to dial it back a bit at work. So Dad, he goes to the gym 3 hours a day, like 3 hours a day. His morning is get up and he's doing his weights and he's doing his swimming and he's doing his, but he enjoys it. He's as sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
Right. So, health, and then you've got happiness and fulfillment. Now, one of the things I do write about and my first column in the Times is about this, is what the happiest retirees do. Now, one of the things I think the happiest retirees do is they have 3 to 4 epic pursuits. They have things that they do that they continue to invest themselves in learning about, that they continue to enjoy, that they participate in for social and activity kind of stuff. You know, you and I might call them hobbies, but they're not hobbies unless you're learning and improving and getting better at and really actively participating. So he gets involved in one of the political parties, helping somebody to run their booths and think up their policies and think of the way to do their local area in their local area. So he's very passionate about his local area.
Good on him.
He gets involved in the Rail Trail Club that are building the rail trails through the back of the Sunshine Coast. He participates in different groups and activities up in the Sunshine Coast where he lives for the fun of it, right? He doesn't get paid for it. He's 79 and he enjoys the participation. And I think we
and
can
being
all do
connected
that.
to something. It's being
so important, right? And so that sense of belonging, purpose, and curiosity, I think, really does drive you. And then you get to travel. He has a funny thing he does with his travel. You can watch at 79. You think every now and then him and my stepmom think they might be getting old. And they say to themselves, oh, no, we're not going to travel next year. We think we might have to start slowing down a bit. And then you watch, they must come back from their last trip and go, we're still okay. Let's book 2 more. And to watch them have something to look forward to.
Is so,
And they talk about how it keeps their mind awake, right? All this travelling.
Which is why it's good to talk about this epic retirement, because I think the more you sort of getting into your 50s, having something to look forward to and the prospect of, to your point of it not being a hard end date, but I
think that's what retirement will be by the time we get there. I think we won't have finish lines.
Yeah.
We might have a day we turn our super on.
Yes.
Right? That's going to be a very exciting day, right? That's the day we should celebrate, is the day we turn our super on.
I'm so excited about that. So if I'm thinking about turning on my super, and look, for our listeners and viewers, like we're sucking up to Bec for some compliments at Australian Retirement Trust. But she's got this amazing program that in partnership with Champ West that looks at rating super funds. Because let's be blunt, if you don't have a super fund that ticks key boxes, your epic retirement's being eroded.
I sat back, as I really did write about finance over and over and over, and I kept coming to the problem that super funds were awesome in the accumulation phase in Australia. We have really mastered it. We're doing very, very well. But most consumers don't realise that super in the retirement phase in Australia is done in a very patchy way. Some funds are doing a really good job. Some are doing an adequate job but running ad campaigns about doing an excellent job. And some are doing a shocking job. And all of them are telling you they're doing a great job. And the challenge is the government's telling them they're not doing well enough. We can hear it inside the industry, but probably most people don't read that stuff.
And the regulator as well.
The regulator, the regulator I meant. Yes. And probably people don't listen to the regulator on the street, right? They're not hearing that stuff. I hear it because I'm sitting in the middle. And I'm the only voice in the middle that doesn't work for a super fund and doesn't work for a financial advice firm. So I don't have a ticket in the game, right? I can sit here on the consumers team and say, you know what, how are we going to know? And I also want to push the funds a little bit. I want to see them doing better. If they're going to advertise they're good, I want them to be good.
So Australian Retirement Trust, we got an epic retirement.
And I've got your report card here.
Goodness gracious. So do you know, when someone reads something nice about you, you always feel proud and awkward in equal measure. So I'm going to sit here on behalf of all of the team at Australian Retirement Trust and feel awkward and proud.
But you should be proud. You should be very proud. And for everybody out there, I'll first start off with a little explainer of the tick itself.
Yes, good call.
When I decided there was a problem here that was big enough, and that criteria is different in the retirement phase from what you assume you know about a fund in the accumulation phase. In the accumulation phase, the government runs a really good performance test. They hold funds to account according to how they perform on returns and how they perform on fees. And that has whipped the market into shape because everybody's afraid of being publicly embarrassed. And I think we've seen the government the regulator do a great job of that. What's missing is there is absolutely zero rating or public assessment done on funds other than after you retire. And funds do things differently after you retire, because what matters is different after you retire. Fees and returns are important, but in fact, if you can't open an account, can't get paid on time, don't get service when you need it, I mean, your fund is becoming your main source of income.
Yes.
So it's exciting, and your main source of advice and your main source of guidance. And so what you want to know is that they're ready for you.
Our CEO, Cathy Vincent, says that, like, really, as Australia becomes older, super funds will become more and more the employer to so many Australians.
Yeah, they're paying the paycheck.
Yeah, they're putting the money in the bank account. Like, that's
you
the
are
big
you are
shift.
almost going to become banks.
Yes.
You know, the robustness with which you have to traverse what you deliver to consumers, I'm excited about. So when I saw there was such a big problem between what the consumer understands and what the funds tell the consumer, I went, you know what, we can do better. We can make a transparent list of criteria, and then we can assess against that criteria so that funds know, because even funds are struggling to communicate with members what's important. And then we can keep updating that every year as the market moves. But most importantly, we can point funds to it and say, if you're not on this list, there's an easy way to get here. Deliver well for your members. And you can get here. And you know, it's not for me to judge. And so the other thing is, I don't have an Australian Financial Services license, which is an important part of assessing anything in this country. So I partnered with the best ratings provider in the superannuation industry, who already does this stuff for a living, but they issue the types of awards that are mainly seen in the industry, to produce one that the consumers can use as a guiding light. And so now we did our first assessment in October, and I'm very excited. ART Super Savings came through and got themselves a tick, and you did all that work yourselves, right? And you have to be very proud. I want to run through, there is 18 criteria. I'll run through them very quickly.
18, goodness gracious,
18
Charlie
criteria.
Brown. Yes.
And you got 12 out of 18, which is up there with I think the highest was 15.
Okay.
So you are up there. But what's really exciting is I can talk about how you performed versus the median, and you guys can actually release that data.
Okay, so
to
what
your
are we
members as
awesome
well.
at? Tell
You're
us
awesome.
What we're awesome
So
at.
you're awesome at investment performance. You got a tick.
This is true. This is like
You're going to be proud of that, man.
Yeah, this is true.
Returns are very important, right? So investment performance on your 50-50 option is 7.2%. And that is against a median of 6.5 across funds. Your investment performance on a 70-30 option over the 10 years is 9% over a median of 7.9%, which is cracking, guys. Your investments, we were looking for funds to offer a different type of investment for people in retirement, and you offer a balanced risk-adjusted
We do offer
offering.
balanced
So you got a tick in
risk-adjusted,
there,
yes.
where the median fund didn't get a tick. Like most funds are not offering that yet. So well done. We looked at fees across, we needed funds to get a tick in this category to get 3 out of 5 different balance levels. So fees below the median across 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, 750 and $1 million balances. You got fees on all 5.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, well done. Right? We looked at whether or not you offered a lifetime pension or lifetime income product. You got one of those. Look at that.
Yeah.
And they're hard to find out there. So well done.
We were the first to market. It remains market leading. We're very proud of it.
So then jumping through to some more ticks, intra-fund advice. You guys provide intra-fund advice for your members covering more than 3 topics. And most funds do.
An intra-fund is that simple advice about your account.
So that you can get your investments looked at, your risk profile, very important
retirement
stuff.
advice.
And I encourage you
And
to
we're one
get
of the
in there.
very few funds to provide retirement advice under intra-fund advice.
Well, and that's the next one, simple retirement planning for an individual. And we were setting the bar at $1,000 as the fee.
Part
and
of the
you're
membership
free.
fee.
Yeah,
It's part of your
included,
membership.
yes.
It's included in the membership
Nil
fee.
fee.
Yes.
But that, I mean, people should use it. And I think we don't talk about how much that's available to members. And please go and use
You
it,
and I
right?
aligned. Yeah, pick up the phone.
I want them to. I want everybody to pick up the phone. The next one that I want you to understand is comprehensive advice referrals. So the fact that you have an offering where you will refer to people you've tested out, checked out, so that you can find external advisors you can trust.
Totally, really high quality, but not just high quality in terms of their ethics and their track record, their bedside manner.
There is so much uncertainty out there in the advice space, and after First Guardian and Shield, all of those horrible things, it's lovely to see trust. We have to have trust and we have to have faith. There are good advisors
there are some
out there.
magnificent financial advisors
giving
that we
credit
love.
to those and knowing that you can point to them. The next ones I'm excited about, retirement-focused nudges. You guys are doing income projections on statements, age-based retirement nudges, and prompts in your newsletters. That is something that a lot of funds are not there yet.
Yes, and we remind people that we can see when people aren't having their SG going in, but they're at preservation age, and we're like, hold on, did you know that you're potentially paying tax?
Yeah.
You're keeping your money in a taxed environment. You might be able to draw that as an income tax-free.
That's great because a lot of people just leave their money in super and don't even know.
So we try and educate about that.
Oh, that's really good. The next one is your education.
Something
close to my heart.
Here's something we prepared earlier.
I'm a big believer in retirement education. I think literacy is one of the most important things we can provide people with, for not that much effort and not that much pain. And you guys are running retirement ready webinars. You've done some in-person seminars and you do some website-based education, which is, I would egg everyone on to use that stuff, right? It's there for a reason. Your service levels are coming along nicely. And then retirement bonus. That was an exciting tick for you guys.
Yes.
We've
got
got
the first to market on that one too, actually.
You have a retirement bonus of 0.5%. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that your latest one?
Oh, God, you're testing me with the number, but I think that is right. And it's all around basically just recognising that when you move into pension phase, there's been this accumulated tax in the environment that comes that we can kind of give to you as a...
Yeah, because effectively you've preserved the tax.
Yes.
This is a space that still very few funds get a tick in the retirement bonus. So well done. And the last one is the efficiency of your pension payments. 2 days for ad hoc payments and same-day payments are possible with multi-factor authentication as well. Another one of the sub-criteria on there. You have that going. So there's two pieces to that. Getting paid when you need to draw down from your super balance is an important value proposition. And not all funds are able to do that in a timely manner. And it's not something that a lot of funds can do super quick because this is large lumps of money that people are pulling out. But you guys are doing it within 2 days and that's below the median of 3 days.
And I would say that I think one thing that we're really proud of is all of our administration and services, are here at ART. So we're able to, influence, if we're not doing well enough, we can fix it because it's all in-house. And I would say with the multi-factor authentication, such an important thing in the context of where we are with cyber. And so that because you do hear awful stories, so no money leaves the door with no transaction happens without that one-time PIN.
And it's so important for everybody out there who does get frustrated about having to enter
one-time
data
pins.
points and pin things. These are the reasons that funds didn't get hacked this year. The good ones didn't get too much of a trauma going through them because they had 2MFA or multi-factor authentication in their systems. And, well done for being ahead of the 8 ball on that. You did very, very well on the report card. I mean, there's a few more you could get ticks in, which is fun to have something to work towards.
Okay.
It is important that we hold the bar high and we say to the industry, hey, these guys have got it. Only 6 funds got to this level. So you are absolutely in the best of the best, right?
So if you're listening to this, you're already ahead of a game because you've actually clocked on that an epic retirement is something that you'd like to have for yourself. And so now you've got this checklist or report card that you can look on the website.
Yeah, you can download your own version of the whole report from epicretirement.net/epic tick.
Okay. So if you've decided epic retirement is something that you want sooner rather than later, what are the things that we should talk about that listeners and viewers should just the basic? We spoke about it before, realising that income is tax-free in retirement and there's a way you could achieve that through potentially winding back your hours.
Yeah, look, there's probably a few things I reckon everybody should work through. We are putting out a toolkit or a starter kit for everybody on my website this month that is just going to give them a free workbook to work through. And the steps in the workbook take you through 4 things. The hardest thing for most people to grasp is what their goals are after they step beyond using work to set goals. We used to set our goals around work. I want to get here by then. I want to get here by then. But when you take that away, what is it that you want to do by when? And what are you going to become curious at? And what are you going to learn about? And what's going to be exciting for you? And I think often people walk into a financial advisor's office and you would hear these stories all the time, and they walk in and they say, I've got $320,000 in super, I've got $53,000 in a term deposit. What sort of retirement can I have? And it's like, I actually would rather you sit down and with that understanding of how much you have, actually sit down and say, I wonder what I could or would like to do. And then, play around with some of the calculators, have a read, but then come in and go, you know what, my goals of retirement are this.
I'd like to be able to go back to 3 days a week.
Yeah, I'd like to caravan once for 4 months around Australia.
Yeah.
I'd like to experience some things. I wouldn't mind coming back to work part-time later if I give up for a bit. And I wouldn't mind traveling every year to see my son, daughter, niece, nephew in a foreign country, whatever that might be.
There are these there's simple strategies, and again on our website, things like transition to retirement where you can, so to your point around deciding I want to go on holidays, travel, work less, there are things you can do where you can still work, have superannuation paid in, but actually draw an income stream that's tax-free in retirement and work less hours. That's like a whole lot of epic.
Yeah,
That's
and
a whole lot of
the
epic.
enablers, once you have your goals, you can come and see you guys effectively and sit with an advisor and say, now I know what my goals are. I think I understand, a little bit about money, but please could you walk me through how I get to them?
Yes.
And then they'll give you the options. They'll help you with strategy to walk you through things like transition to retirement income streams that might allow you to draw some from your super but put more in before tax into your super fund. There's clever ways to make your money go further in the years once you're reaching the retirement or access to super age. But then there's other strategies as well that these guys have so many tricks that you can learn,
there are
right?
so many episodes around these strategies and tricks that's a fun around to retire that are on the Super Insider sort of library there. But I think that to me is the big kind of aha moment for listeners and viewers. If you're thinking about retiring and it's Epic Retirement Month and we're heading into Christmas and what does 2026 mean? Actually, rather than thinking about what your balance is, think about what you want your life to look like.
That's right. It's exciting because life is what you make it. Most people forget that or don't even know that in retirement, the whole path of retirement is up to you. Where in the rest of your life, you've had a boss, you've had a partner to drive you along. You might have your
Mouths
partner
to
with
feed.
you. Yeah, you've had reasons to make the wheel turn, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're gone. The boss is gone. The reason to get out of bed in the morning's sometimes gone as well. So what is it that you're going to drive yourself towards? What is going to excite you? And what is going to get you up in the morning? You've got to create your own rhythms. You've got to create your own journey.
What's your epic retirement?
Well, I wrote about it in the newspaper just last weekend, actually. I put down on paper a hypothetical view of what retirement will look like when I'm retiring. I reckon I won't retire fully until well beyond 65. I love what I do and I'm very lucky to have flexibility and it's keeping me curious, researching health and well-being and money and continuing to keep my brain going, right? And so, I think I'll just find new projects and then ease off on the ones that get boring. We would also do a caravanning trip around Australia. And so to me, I may not have to retire to do
that.
them.
And that's the whole point,
I think this is
right?
a flexible view of the future retirement.
entirely.
And that's the book I wrote after Epic Retirement, the primetime book. Here's something I prepared earlier.
And for those who are listening rather than viewing, Rebecca is grabbing a book right now and it's called How to Have an Epic Retirement.
Isn't she good at this? So this is the new edition of How to Have an Epic Retirement. I wrote this book originally back in 2023 and I learned so much by talking to retirees and by talking to the industry, more so by talking to the industry than anything else, about the things that consumers don't know going into retirement, about their choices and about the things they can access in their super funds and the things they should know about things like the tick and all that stuff. And it's all made it into this edition of the book, a brand new edition that's come out on November 25. So it's exciting to be able to bring this one to the market. If it helps that number, that 31%, have better retirements and choose their path in, I think we're doing something special. And if it helps them find their way to your advice team, again, well guided, you know.
I think that's right. And I call to action from, if you're listening to this, if you're driving to work or sitting on the train or watching it on the sofa on a Sunday, thinking about how do I retire, the one thing you need to do is call your super fund
Absolutely.
immediately, the moment the contact centre opens, to book in an appointment.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I mean, you can learn so much from your fund, and they'll hold your hand through the journey, and really it's about you setting the pace for the journey and knowing where you'd like to go so that they can help you.
So on behalf of a country that is becoming older as a proportion of the population, thank you for your advocacy for a high quality retirement for the good of all the fellow citizens. It's really important what you do, and making it accessible. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Really proud to see this concept of epic retirement going over to the United Kingdom, and so we're cheering you on at Australian Retirement Trust. To our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure you get involved and think about what your epic retirement looks like, and tell your family and friends. We'll look forward to you joining us again soon.